Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
If I might ask one other question.
Sure, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you could discuss at all Mother Earth before she was a planet.
Oh, yes, actually. I don't get to ask that question very often. Before Earth decided to become a seventh dimensional galactic seed planet, it was a sentience, and it was a sentience, a very powerful sentience that was part of the 11th generation of existence in our universe. She wasn't born in this universe. She migrated from another universe by invitation from the Galactic Prime Creator to come and create whole new forms of DNA wisdom that souls can incarnate in. When she migrated from her universe, it was not a free-willed universe. She came here, claimed her free will, and lived for many, many millions and millions of years as a sentience. And she would go and live on other worlds and create soul family relations. Her purpose was to live on as many worlds as she could so that she could create a very big soul family and then come to the purpose of creating a planet. Her existence was meant to be a healer and birther of species. That's what her sentience kind was when she lived in physical bodies on other worlds. Her entire purpose was to birth as much life as she could and then become a planet. And when she became a planet, she invited all of those people she had soul family relations with to come and incarnate on her world and use the DNA wisdom she had collected from all the other worlds she had lived on.
Okay, Eric, is this your first time to call the show?
Yes.
Well, thank you for the call, and don't let it be your last time. We'd love to hear from you again.
Thank you so much for allowing me the chance to ask the question.
You bet.
So we are going to be playing the wheel of the next caller. So just a second as I find out our next caller's going to be...
Hello?
Hello, Lillian. How you doing? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Melbourne in Australia.
Melbourne, Australia. Welcome to the show. What kind of questions do you want to start with?
Well, I wanted to know who my soul family is.
Who your soul family is.
Yeah.
Now, generally, when people ask what their soul family is, we have to give a definition of that, and that is something that you've lived in other lifetimes with, not one, but dozens of lifetimes in. You are in many, many different soul families. You couldn't be on Earth if you weren't. You want to know the main soul families that you've been with? Let me take a gander at here. I got to give that English. All right. On the far side of the Cygnus galaxy, on the far side from our relative perspective, is a cluster of 50 twin stars, and they're all in their own orbit around each other that make a what's called a micro proto galaxy, where all of these twin stars are rotating around themselves, which are rotating around no central star of their own, because every now and all the points interlock. And on these worlds are the species that you come from. They're an amalgamation of tens of thousands of other light species beings who left their original DNA skin suits as part of the third epoch of our evolutionary process as a universe itself. The third part of our universal creation is when free will was installed in universal wide, and that all operations of karma now would operate under free will. There were large volumes of species who didn't want to operate in the flesh while it was free will like that. So they became energy bodies, they created cultures, but they ultimately lost their connection of tree to life. And on the far side of the Cygnus galaxy, they assembled this solar system, and the species was essentially known as Mohatoa. Mohatoa is the only light language way that I can give it. And this is where they began occupying skin again, in all different shapes, all different sizes, but their purpose was once again to get refueled in the idea that the universe itself was asking these very high, powerful beings to take a step down out of their perspective and come back into flesh once again, to go through the process of flesh, so that the higher frequency beings had a chance once again to learn what the lower species were doing, and a whole new expression of free will, because whole new things had been created that many of the higher beings never predicted. And this race was a way to get higher beings who were looking for a new universal experience a second chance to live here. That's where you came from, and you came directly to Earth as part of a direct immigration process, because Earth was going through horrible destruction at that time, and you came in as a triage unit, repairing large sections of the continents that had been destroyed by reality-altering weapons. You were a land recreator. You know, we do surgery on our bodies where we cut open the flesh and the muscles and sew it back together. You were doing that on the surface of the planet, sewing mountains back together that were wounds.
Wow. That just actually made me really teary.
Well, it's a moment of recognition, and the somatic release within it is a deep recognition that you've done so much healing to this planet.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my next question is, I guess, you know, what am I here to do in this lifetime on this planet?
What do you think you're here to do?
To help it move forward.
No, it's always moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you capable of doing to change a species of people that's half asleep, half awake?
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes think I've got the capacity to help to do that, to wake people up, and then sometimes I just kind of feel like, well, am I just dreaming?
You are dreaming. This is a dream world.
Yeah.
This world isn't real.
Yeah.
It isn't real time. We're all here on fraud time.
So I guess it's getting out of fraud time and creating a different reality is what I'm here for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's to do it with absolute joy, bliss, and fun, knowing that there's going to be a temper tantrum kid in the corner called the system that's going to go, meh, you can't do it. I'm going to throw whatever I can to stop you.
Yeah. Which it has done.
Right. And you have to tell it, you're not my kid. Call your mommy to come pick you up, because you're not even a sentient being that I can call a kid. Shutting the system off is your purpose this lifetime.
Yeah.
So the infinite source stream you can flow forward freely without limitations.
Yeah.
So what other kind of questions you have?
Well, you kind of talked a little bit a while ago about this money curse stuff. And I know that you've done revocations, to do with that through the banks, the government and media, but is there anything else that we could do to clear that stuff?
There are lots of things you can do to clear it, but it's understanding that you're using it every day. So clearing it once means nothing. It's about making a habit pattern so that it's cleared every time you use it, past, present, and future.
Yeah.
It's taking it at a bigger scale. So when you look at the contract revocations, can you design one specifically for Lillian herself? Absolutely. Every time you have to write a check, use your credit card, so on and so forth, there needs to be a prayer or ritual or ceremony that's done once a month where you remember or you burn all your receipts and stuff like that. That you begin to alchemize those moments where you are forced to use an unfair exchange for energy system.
Yeah.
So for every equivalent of credit or unit that's exchanged for you, you demand your energy back in energy form, because the energy, the value of that dollar, rupee, or whatever it is 10,000 times the amount in the energy world. They don't tell you that. And for everyone else that's out there, you think about that. For everything you have to exchange, its value on the other side is way higher. And when you get that value directly to your soul in the exchange for value, the system goes broke.
Yeah.
Okay. So what other kind of questions do you have?
I had another question. You did a call with a lady, Vicky, from Byron a few weeks ago, and she very briefly touched on chakras. And you'd said something like chakras in humans are a kind of dumbed-down version to remind us of our connection back with Earth and the Earth chakras. So is there anything that I could do to, reconnect with Earth, and do we need to be reconnecting with her Earth chakras again? And then how do I remove myself from, this dumbed down version that has been
lots and lots of study. It is in the understanding of the experience of energy. Do you understand why there are chakras in the manifest in the colloquial language that we have now? There are not proper linguistic terms that represent the nexus points that are called chakras. They're more like suspensions of musical notes in orchestras of energy that are controlled by different parts of the energy meridians as well as the higher spirit. It is its own orchestrated song and motion and moment and everything and nothing. And chakra is just a word. So when I say there's a dumbed down version, there's a lot more what was behind that conversation, because she was trying to actually indicate that chakras weren't real at all. And I said, yes, they are, because we believe they are. Just like the Christians believe in God and the Buddhists believe in Buddha, so on and so forth. We must come to that understanding that everyone is true. Everything is truth right now. That is the craziness of the fraud Roman numeral time that we exist in, because we are what we believe. So knowing that you are what you believe, as long as you understand the process of belief, the empowerment of belief, your connection to Earth comes through happiness, joy from the center of the heart, having meditation skills and disciplines that bring your brain out of your brain and into your heart. Literally visualize the brain matter, the shape of the brain hovering over the center of the heart. And then after a while, the brain goes down into the gut and connects into the gut, so it connects to the dream world. This is the mechanical process that we go through when we go to sleep. The brain turns on the sleep paralysis, and the brain goes into the heart, and it goes to sleep. And then the dreaming body activates, and then the brain goes into the lower intestine to interpret what the dreaming body is bringing back to it. And then we go through the awakening. It goes back to the heart. It downloads to the cellular memory. You remember a dream, and then it goes back to the brain, and you wake up. That mechanical process right there is what you need to become a disciplined master at when connecting the spots of joy and love in your body. I see dozens and dozens of past lifetimes where you were the comedian passing on that energy. Well, you can't mimic the comedian's lifetime this style. but the power of joy and inner comedy is still within you. And that is something that can break those moments of suppression when energy is being projected at you, where you can turn on the heart smile and outweigh and out-densify anything that's trying to take from you.
Yeah. So I guess I've been kind of working in a corporate environment, and I find that's really difficult to bring myself into a space of joy and peace, and I feel like my energy is being drained all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What steps could I take if I continue to work in that environment, just to, I guess, not be so affected?
Let me bring Kathy in here for a second to help you with the corporate perspective.
I think that one of the most important things you could do is just to clear the air for where you are. Even if you could just use like a small atomizer and put some essential oil in it, like peppermint. If you get into work early, you could spray around your area without people getting too offended if they don't like the smell. But also, the sense of smell for you, when I look at your being, is very important and powerful because it affects your mood, your clarity, and also the amount of energy that you have. And in your work environment, there are so many demands on your time and so much, I'll call it, just to be simple, other people's energy that is almost wafting over you, that it's like you need to, get a fan and just fan it out because you can't breathe. And when that happens, you get very stifled. And when you get stifled, your mind starts to get sluggish, and then you become vulnerable to all sorts of things and suggestions. So it's very important for you to have that clarity where you are. Another thing you can do is make sure that when I look at where you are, your positioning seems awkward or not powerful. Explore what you can do with your desk and your chair, that kind of environment, and see if you, even if it was just moving your chair around the desk, you find that there was one spot where you just actually feel really comfortable and more in your power, even though when you look at it, it doesn't seem like it would be comfortable.
Yeah.
Just doing these very few small basic things will already put you in a position of power, which is what you're after. Because when you're in a position of power, then you come into your own and your energy is strong.
Yeah.
Thank you. For you, I'd say it's the basic things. I mean, of course, you can always add crystals and some grids, which is always great. But sometimes it's not so easy to do that. And, you get raised eyebrows, which makes life a bit difficult.
Yeah.
So you have to be more inventive.
Yeah.
Another thing, I'm not sure why this is relevant to you, but I just keep seeing it, is one of the things that I learned over in Asia with the old Chinese people is that when you have any work staff or corporate, actually it could even be personal, if there is someone that you believe is hassling you, harassing you, or being vindictive, and often sending you letters, you are supposed to just get a mirror out and put the letter on top of the mirror so that the writing is then reflected into the mirror. Because what that does is it just repels it back to whoever sent it. So you're not harming anyone. If they sent you good vibes, then it's a good thing. But if it was indeed negative, then it goes back. Either way, it's out of your space. And in the modern day of email, then I'd say just print it out. And these are things that you can just put that little mirror in the back of your drawer and just put the paper on top and no one would know.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how it does make a bit of difference. It sounds a bit silly, but it really, whether it's psychological or not, I believe it is more energetic, but it works. And this, even in your personal life, it works. And people that are harassing you or giving you a hard time suddenly just dissipate. I mean, maybe they probably won't apologize, but at least they stop, and which is the main purpose.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Is there something else about your career that you would like to know?
I guess it's, transitioning out of this and back into doing healing work. So what sort of healing work to do, and I've been asked to help my family set up a bed and breakfast in Papua New Guinea, just wanting to know if that's kind of viable or if it's taking me away from what I should be doing here.
It's taking you away.
I agree. I also don't like it for you because I think the environment doesn't suit you. I think you'll be susceptible to insect bites and things like this, and it's just not a good. If you don't have to do it, I would choose not to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
But in terms of a career change, I think definitely it is a very, very real possibility. In terms of a healing modality, I think anything that you look at that has anything to do with water or is water-based would really suit you, because there's something about you and water and fluid that really gels. I mean, it's almost like magical. And in my mind's eye, I'm just seeing the most sort of beautiful lake, oceany kind of scene, and you're just so happy. It really touches me to see your happiness. So definitely pursue something like that, because the right thing will just pop up, no problem. You'll recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of healing skills did you learn?
I started out with Lomi Lomi, so hot stones, a lot of manual therapies.
I'm quite
Reiki.
familiar with Lomi Lomi. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Reiki.
Yep, Reiki. Some stuff that's based around theta healing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a combination of body work and of kind of clearing work as well. And I guess I've started incorporating your contract revocations, and I like to bring that back into my healing, or introduce that in, when I get started with my healing work again.
Yep. Also, intoning is something you should really, really look into in your bodywork healing, your Reiki. There are times that a low note, when combined with symbols and energy, can break up some very calloused energy spots.
Yeah.
Especially people with cancer, people that have long-term chronic diseases. The intoning side, highs and low notes, when combined in a harmony, can amplify your skills manyfold.
Okay.
We are going to have to move on to the next caller, but thank you very much.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome, lady.
Okay.
Take it easy.
Yep. Bye for now.
It's really interesting that you talked about using the mirror to put the letters on. For a while, I had, I don't know, a stack of 200 letters on mirrors.
No, it's such a good technique.
It's such a good technique.
Effective.
So we are joined by our next caller, Barb. Barb, how you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
We're good. Where are you calling from?
Oregon, the coast.
Okay. So what kind of questions did you want to start with?
Well, I guess I think I'm going to follow you.
Okay, you're going to follow me.
I'm not sure where to start. I guess my main thing is my purpose for this lifetime. What is it to fulfill? What have I been before? The DNA issue, career, location, purpose, abundance.
Okay. Well, the first thing that I get in is you are in a life that's still in karmic retribution. You are born in the reincarnation grid this lifetime. It's not exactly a bad thing and not exactly a good thing at the same time. It was a personal choice by a soul to make sure that shadowy karma that you believed you had let go a long time ago would not be able to be reused against you, because early in your soul existence, you were very much involved into mystery schools that were leapfrogging through time. You learned esoteric skill sets, everything from the warrior, the healer, the thinker, the mathematician, to apply those to the terms of war. And that would have been between like 2800 BC to about 400 AD, and then you would gone into a more shamanic lifetime and try to avoid as much karma as possible until about 1830. You had a group of lifetimes that would have been in upper Montana, probably with the different cultures that were throughout there. One of them has a connection to the Hollow Earth organizations. But this is ultimately what leads into this lifetime, is your connections to your ancestors of where you're living at right now. Ooh, this is interesting. The ancestral energies that are pulling on your heart right now are asking you actually to stay and create right there. And there's being offering you these unique portals of muse energies where you can connect to these fabulously genius, intelligent beings that are occupying the trees, the stones, the rocks, everything around you. It's the incredible amount of light that's being sent to you, asking for you to create there.
That is good confirmation. There's a lot going on here in this community, and I've been trying to walk around and stage and cleanse it. That's important. That's interesting. So how can I further connect? And
this is the raw shaman ancestral connections, burning things. That's your first process. You are creating a sacred fire for the strict purpose of you becoming the medium, so that the ancestors in the unseen land have a voice in the seen land, so their final manifestation is an equation, and that equation is that fire, those offerings, those ceremonial moments, whereas the ancestors get acknowledged is to build friendships with them. And those friendships on the unseen level do not function in time. They do not function in the hierarchical order we're working with. So they may come to you with a issue because you are the steward of the land. And when you are the steward of the land, in no time, you must be prepared with these things that come up from the ancestral processes. If a tree has been cut down 40 miles away that has caused a great disturbance in that area, it may ask you to do a ceremonial and ritual that allows that tree to be let go, because they still need a unity human shaman to make sure that tree soul goes into the unity format so that it doesn't get caught into the reincarnation grid.
There's been so much turmoil here in this particular community. I'm on a coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been told there's been various serious issues before where things haven't been released, and so that's why I was doing the walking around the community, because it's actually impacting people here, both on the physical and emotional and all kinds of levels. So this is kind of confirming. Interesting. Okay, so can you go into career for me?
Sure. Kathy, you want to jump on that?
Yeah. I mean, I look at career for you now, and to me, a lot of it looks very stagnant, stunted, I would almost say. I would say, I don't mean to say that you're not achieving your full potential, that type of standard phrase, but it's almost like I look at your energy and I see that what you're doing now is not very fulfilling. You're not really sure what it is that you want to do, but then at the same time, because you don't really know what it is that you're after, it's very hard to look for it. What I'd say that you really need to start thinking about more is not what you want to do, but what is it that you have passion about? Because what you have passion about is actually something that you can do for career, but you just haven't considered that as a plausible option. Also, I think probably because it's quite unique and new, you sort of, well, I'd almost say poo-poo the idea that you can do something with it. Yet when I look around you, there are so many people that really need the skill set that you have that you don't really consider a proper skill set. Does that make sense for you?
It does. It does. And you're right. I'm not totally happy with it, but I'm good at what I do. I'm a realtor. But it's very draining on me at the same time, very emotionally draining.
Because you have dealing with the ancestral energy, and every time you are the person of note in selling a land, you are becoming the steward of that land and taking on all of the ancestral debt that has not been dealt with the previous landowners who are denying the energy of the land. Real estate agents, along with tech support agents, are some of the most difficult spiritual process jobs to have in the third density world.
Oh, I agree with that.
Have you ever heard, are you familiar with the Cree Indians in Canada?
No, but I know that we have a lot of Indians here in the coastline. So tell me about what you were going to say about the Canadian Indians.
The Canadian Cree, this is actually what your ancestral connection is to. And they have a deep, hollow earth connection, and they had access to the tunnels and the portals and to the insect kind that lived deep under the earth. And this is one of the reasons you've been drawn into real estate right now, is the hollow earth insectoid energy has been working with your dream space when you manifested your job as a realtor to make sure that ancestral debt that's thousands of years old is becoming resolved by each contract and deed that you've followed through and become a sale and get a commission upon. Because that particular commission is actually the dollar bill exchange for spiritual debt this lifetime.
And so what if I don't get a commission?
If you don't, that means you're still the steward of the land. And this is where having to take the next level of shamanic understanding to yourself that continuing to do this job means you have to begin to understand the ancestral energies of the land. It is important that you create your own little space of prayer that's not on the property you live on, that's somewhere else, and maybe in the middle of a park somewhere, that's just a couple rocks that you put together that you bring a silver coin to one day, tobacco offerings the next week, an apple that for another time. It's really important that you begin to have a little ancestral shrine, and you can burn paperwork for each deed that you've done for new deals. It's important that you begin to do that.
Very interesting.
I think also you'll find that over the next 6 or 8 months, a lot of people will start to approach you for things. And to me, these are signs that will show you where your passion is and where your path is. You'll consider this like every day, ooh, that happens all the time. But actually, pay attention over this time span, because the more that you notice it, the more you'll see where it is that your passion lies. You would consider what you do for people or them asking you for things or help as just, oh, I'm just being a normal person, it's my everyday life. But if you actually take notice of it, you will notice that what this many people approaching you is not in the standard normal for everybody.
That resonates as well. Thank you.
I've got a question for you. Have you taken the time to learn any hands-on healing skills?
I have. I've done Reiki. I have a nursing background, but I've gotten into the alternative. Mm-hmm. And it does come naturally to me, just knowing something and just either hands-on or above or just speaking it. Mm-hmm. I haven't developed it fully, I know. It's just a sense that I know certain things.
Mm-hmm. Did you take Reiki too?
I did.
Okay. There's a technique in Reiki 2 that they teach you. It's about sending a treatment forward and backwards in time. And this is one of the most beneficial skill for people who have not made the transition into wanting to have a life as a healer where you're charging hour to hour to do particular sessions and dealing with people's, inner issues. So what you can begin to design is each week you create an agenda that says, I know I have an appointment to sell a house, or I have this appointment to meet a person that may be in having some negative energies around them. And you give yourself these forward in time treatments that are then there waiting for you in an event that you will create in your future. So, let's say you have a meeting with a brand new client and you want to make sure, nothing's interfering with you. You can design a Reiki treatment through that Reiki 2 technique of opening the portal, creating the forward energy, and then waiting for you to come through that moment. And if you decide to take 4 hours a month to give yourself 4 hours of treatment sometime in the month in the future, you will begin to connect immediate hindsight from the energy of the old person who's sending it to the ancient present new person.
Okay. And then one more question too, if I may.
Sure.
there is a situation happening, which I feel frivolous, but there's a lawsuit out there, which is, of course, taking not only my time and energy and money. Do you foresee a quick resolution?
I would say I don't see a quick resolution, but I do see a positive resolution. It appears to be a lot more complicated than you thought or expected, but it is a positive outcome. So it's certainly worth going ahead, but frustrating nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think that understanding that something is trying to put energy into your frequency to entangle you with the law. And the reason it's doing that is because you function in an energy where you're getting spiritual debt from deed system that's functioning within the law and the governance. And it's just become your number in that system to take on that court debt energy. And as I said, as Kathy was saying, and I agree with her, that it may not have a quick resolution, but it'll turn out very positive at the end. And this will be based off of how much letting go of the energy of the land that you can do to understand that you're a steward of every single property you've ever sold.
And very interesting perspective about the land. So do you see me moving out of real estate?
I would say eventually, yes. But to me, it looks like you will not follow your passion. You're not focused on it. So until you are, you will be there for a while. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just think that there's not great change around you just yet. And it's a nice, stable thing to be in for now.
Yeah, you're on a plateau. And that plateau means you get to rest, recover, repair, renew, and rejuvenate. So when the journey has the uphill energy again, that you aren't having sore muscles.
Right. Very good. I like that.
Yeah. So another thing is to see yourself moving out of the real estate, you must manifest the potential in the presence. And that's making a new hobby or skill set or existing hobby and skill set and giving it the potential of it being a new career.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
One thing also that keeps coming up for me is I want you to just take care when you're drinking water. I couldn't tell you why, but over the next few months, I just think you just got to check, make sure that the water is clean, clear, etc. Whether it's from your house, the well, or you bought it, or in a restaurant, whatever it is. Just take more notice of it, and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, I really agree on that. And I think one of the reasons you're having water energy exposure is over the last many years, you've been to hundreds of homes that each have a different well, each different aquifer, each a different frequency of water. And when you come home to your energy, it has its own individual programming, and you become very water sensitive.
Plus, I have the whole ocean. I live on the ocean.
Well, it's the individual signature frequencies that are putting programming to the water of each home that you've been in, and each restaurant, and so on and so forth.
So I can then send it back. I can send good vibrations back. Right.
Yeah.
Change those water molecules.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a new one.
Give me a new molecule.
Exactly. This molecule's no good.
Send back to sender.
There you go. Oh, that's great. So with my ancestor type situation, does that impact my children who see ghosts and things that other people don't see?
Yes, it does. And this is where we run into a situation where when you're dealing with children, you as the mother in the situation that's having children that are having paranormal experiences, energy, hygiene, spiritual cleanliness for yourself, for your children, it's absolutely vital. Dealing with kids in high school, it's inevitable that things come home on them. It's spiritually counseling them. And if they're completely disconnected and connected only into video games, you're going to have a bit of a rough ride until that child can understand that it cannot feed off of something that's giving it negative energy.
Well, these are adult children with children who also, my grandkids happen to see these ghosts.
Right. And it's, again, that's ancestral energy debt being passed on to the children because there was no shaman to teach the original generation of ancestors how to deal with that energy. Does that put you in the grandmother situation of having to be the grandmother and to take these children aside and show them, coping skills? At some point, yes. But again, you'll have to make that choice because you'll also be taking on the ancestral karma of being the teacher for that family.
Yes. A lot of work there, huh?
It isn't that much. It's the initial getting, it's like when you're shoveling your own driveway and yes, you finally dig out your car and you're like, well, if I drive real fast, I'll get to the end of the driveway and I can go through the plow at the end, or I can shovel another 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, this has been fun. Oh, gosh. Okay, anything else you see?
Nope.
Okay, we're doing good?
We're doing good. We're going to move on to the next caller. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so we are waiting for the wheel of the next caller. Is this Rosie?
This is Rosie.
How are you doing today?
How are you doing, Andrew? I've been thinking about you.
Oh, wonderful. Where are you calling from?
Cape Coral, Florida.
Cape Coral, Florida. What kind of questions do you want to start with?
I would like to first off, I'd like to tell you I had a reading back in December from you. And you directed me through that reading that I live very close to a wound chakra.
Yes.
So I went and got my little pendulum out, and we got our maps out, and we found it was within a few miles from where I lived, as you stated.
Yep.
And we went out to that wound chakra, and I took an aura meter to find the location of exactly where work needed to be done. And hence, once we found it, total guidance came.
Beautiful.
It took 15 days to open that wound chakra. Each time that we took a visit there, we were directed as to what to bring and exactly where to go, location-wise, to do the work. And exactly, we started the work, and then something else kind of took over. And it was the most amazing experience we've ever had. It changed my life. That was the beginning of changing my life. Since that has happened, I've traveled pretty much everywhere, synchronistically. I didn't plan on it. Just things happened, and I had to go. Didn't worry financially. Funds always came. More funds than I ever, I'm thinking 20, 30,000, 100,000 pops up. So things went over the top crazy. I quit doing quit working on clients, and worked on myself. My whole life has changed, and it's wonderful. It's amazing. So my question to you.
I'm beaming with happiness. Go ahead.
I am too. You're so amazing. But my question to you is, I'm trying to look. I had a message sent to me. When the wound chakra opened, this dome came over us. It looked like a dome in the sky. And since then, and that's been a while back, but since then, I got a message that I had to penetrate. Well, first off, I was laying down, looking at the sky, and they told me that there is some kind of a lens over us and that it's holographic, and then everything started breaking up into pixels. So, but they told me that I had to penetrate that negative formable barrier membrane and make it permeable from the exterior as well as the interior. And I didn't understand why, I guess, and but I want you to explain that to me.
Okay, so there is
A bubble of energy around you. It relates to the NASA energies that's all over. Anytime that they launch a vessel from the Florida Peninsula, they're actually drawing upon the spiritual energy of the entire peninsula itself and the waters around it, so that that vessel can actually leave the atmosphere and break the original reality rules. So this big old bubble that's over there has to be able to be two-way communication, not one-way communication. So that energies from the Galactics can also be added in. So the next time the NASA tries to launch a vessel, it'll have galactic energy put inside it, which forces NASA into karmic retribution, meaning that the energy that's going to be fed into the system will not be the Florida energy as the imprint that it's expecting. It'll have galactic energy as the basis of some of that fluid energy, which is very detrimental to the long-term health of the system of domination and control.
That's good. Okay, they want me to do that on the area, I think it's 256 acres, where the Calusa legacy heritage is, where the wound chakra was. They want me to do it there, and they want me to do it because I'm totally protected there. Something very strange happened when we were doing the work to open the wound chakra each time that we went out there. Sometimes we were directed to go out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and when we got out there, we would start doing our work, saging the area, whatever that they wanted us to do.
Yes.
And in the process, the sun would start rising, and we would go into, and I don't know how to explain this, but we'd be aware of our surrounding, but we couldn't tell if we were there for 15 minutes or 3 hours. But I could tell by the sun.
That's called elemental time, when the DNA skin suit is not in adrenal gland mode, but in love first action, in community and unity, and you bypassed fraud Roman numeral time and went into the elemental time, the time that the winds use, the earth, the water, everything else that's out there uses a different frequency of time, and that's what you entered.
Okay, well, we entered that zone, and while we were in that zone, we only could tell time by the sun moving, but we couldn't even mentally figure out how much time had lapsed. But a chopper would zoom right in immediately to us, I'm telling you, 70 feet away from us, the width of a two-lane road, and come down 5 feet off the ground where you could literally feel the wind of the blades and observe us. At that time, my phone gets no connection on the island and it's turned off. But at that time, my phone lit up and it said not to worry, that we were cloaked, and all they will see is two women doing yoga on the ground.
That's all they did see. Believe it or not,
they stayed there and watched us.
This goes on all the time. And I have this old story of what it's like when Big Brother watches us work, us light workers do our grid work, and it's just a bunch of people sitting around in a circle hitting drums, and that's what they keep reporting upper management. It's a bunch of hippies. This is just two women doing yoga.
That's what they seen. That's what they said. And the phone worked with no electricity, no power up, no nothing. It just lit up and told us. Sometimes they would tell me what to do, and it used to come. Now, this was another big change. I used to get the information through the crown, and it's almost like my brain processed it, and then I understood it. But now everything's coming directly through the heart. The heart will almost like hit there'll be like a thump. It's almost like complete knowingness. I don't need an explanation. It's just like a complete
you connected
knowingness.
To the DNA memory strands that allow you into knowingness at what scale all the different souls are functioning around you. When you decided to find that womb chakra, you activated a very ancient contract you had yourself that you were a womb chakra tender, and many, many other lifetimes are now coming back into your knowingness and non-hierarchal order. So everything you've learned in previous expressions comes to you naturally as if you've known it since you were a young child, but the personality that originally created those skill sets, it's there, but it's not in competition. It's only desire there to be a teacher so you understand the strand more clearly.
Okay. Well, they've sent me since then. I went on a trip to the Bahama Islands, and they had me do the work 10 hours out to sea. So I had to get up. They woke me up right before, I believe it was right before 3 o'clock, and they wouldn't let me start working. They took me to the top deck, and I was to work on beneath the water and above on this particular whatever they were having done. But they did not let me work not even 5 minutes prior to 3 o'clock. It was like at a specific time. And then once the work was done, I went back down and life continued on. As it started to get light outside, so that's like 6 o'clock or later, and I felt it to be an Arcturian ship, but a light ship around like sun spinning came by real slow, stopped, just stayed in the area. And there was nobody there. Everybody was out grabbing breakfast dishes and whatnot, and all of a sudden the whole deck is clear, not a soul out there, and then it just stayed there for, I don't know, seconds, and then it just zoomed off. But I felt it to be Arcturian ship. Was it an Arcturian ship?
Actually, it was Lyrian, the cat people. I've been noticing this in the beginning of your field when you keep saying they. I keep querying who they are to your higher soul, and they keeps coming back with a unity response that's in 7th dimension in a separate frequency of time that's not a natural Earth time, but it is its own natural frequency of time. And it took me a while, maybe 3-4 minutes to track it back, because the Lyrians are quite careful of hiding their true source frequency of time, because it's easy for them to get entangled in a false form of time here. So when that Lyrian vessel crossed that moment in space-time, the ritual and energy that you had done before is you had uploaded a specific cipher code energy to that area, and that it arrived and uploaded the code, and then is going to take it to another part of the world that's going to be downloading it to another part of Earth. So you just entered the Lyrian energy mail system.
Okay. Well, what happened after that ship left, there were some clouds, just 2 or 3 clouds. They all lit up with different colors, like colors coming right out of them. And I'm talking about hues of blue and purple and orange, and it was striking, vivid colors. I got literally got pictures of it.
What that was is, as soon as the ship appeared on the other side and downloaded the codes to a different part of Earth, which is actually in the Azore Islands, the colors in your area lit up because a section of reality returned to it that had been ripped out of it in 1318 AD, when there was a massive psychic hurricane that went through there.
Okay. Well, since that happened, now they sent me out to the islands over the waters in the Bahama region twice. The second time they sent me out to a location called Paradise. And the work was done directly on an island. They walked me to the location, and a total vibrational thing that was probably the most powerful thing that I've ever felt happened in that location. And I'm not sure exactly, I was on land, I'm not sure exactly what took place there, but I did the work of protocol that they were giving me. And a lot of times they speak it out my mouth, whatever's
I get it. I understand it.
Okay.
Been there, done that.
Okay. And so then I end up they sent me to Tennessee, and I go down to the caves. And I'm on the water that is so clear. They say it's 99.9% magnesium. I didn't do any work, but I felt like the energy was being taken from me. And I felt all these, and I didn't see them, but I felt I was being observed by many, many people while I was on the water of that cave on the lowest point.
You were. You were being observed. You just went to a brand new ancestral homeland after you had done a lot of very powerful spiritual work all throughout that area. As I said, you were working with a psychic hurricane. That hurricane had a real effect to it that killed millions of Native Americans, even long before Columbus set to the shores. There were still white people that were there, and that particular storm of 1318 was actually induced by the Templars of France.
Wow. See, that's another amazing.
It was intended to kill many people, and it trapped many shamans. And when you went to that cave area, it signified putting to rest that psychic storm and all of those souls that were affected by that damage, because many shamans after that storm understood that millions had died, and there needed to be something to clear up the amount of souls that were trapped in the forests all around. So they made a massive prayer ground in those caves and in that water area, so that anyone that was affected by storms, past, present, or future, had a place to go and find their right and true world and not have to worry about false light.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, my life is completely, I mean, it's changed on levels that I can't even explain to a person because they could never understand.
Right.
They've sent me to the highest of mountains. The latest thing has been they've sent me to Missouri to Big Springs, and then they sent me to another springs in Missouri called Alley Springs. Now I'm going to Crystal Springs, and I guess at Crystal Springs there's also a mound there. They want me to
You'll also be going to the Sequoia National Forest outside of Fresno, and I've spoken about it a couple of times earlier in these other shows, but for you, that is a place you need to be. The oldest trees in America are there.
And they tell me that the trees all speak, they all link to each other, and that is the ancient of the ancient.
Correct. That is our eldest surface ancestors waiting to pass the torch of eldership to us.
Which is amazing because that's where I wanted to go for years.
And they will teach you what's called density training. Well, you will increase the density of your body, so there'll be so much dense light in it, nothing that is darkness or a taint of darkness can affect the density of brightness of your light.
Well, that's another thing I was going to bring up. I had been going kayaking in the mornings to watch sunrise, and when I go kayaking, these dolphins, I mean, no matter who's with me, dolphins appear or manatees appear, and they just come in pairs of 3, and they stay with you. The other thing that I noticed when I took a picture, I was taking a picture, I must have hit the camera reverse, I got my own picture, is you could see the light coming out my face, and I feel I am being completely regenerated. I was very sick for a long time. Even when I talked to you, I was very sick. I'm telling you, I have been going. I have had the most fun, literally, joy. Now, on one of the days that we had to go out to open the wound chakra, I didn't know what to do, and I'm asking for guidance, and I got nothing. And all of a sudden, my partner shows up at my house. She comes in, and she says, what are we going to do? And I didn't know what to do. The phone lit up, and it said, laugh. That's what our job was, to laugh. I thought that was the stupidest thing. We went out there not knowing. We laughed our butts off for 7 hours straight. She'd say something, and I would just go crazy. It was with laughter, and so would she. But I guess that must have been for healing. I don't know.
No, actually what was protecting you at that individual moment was a Navajo Heyoka laughing warrior. I don't frequently speak about this, and anyone in the Navajo community that doesn't want me to say anything, it is time. So there are people out there that are grandmasters in adepts of energy that get to a point they understand that all universal laws can be bypassed through the power of laughter. No matter how great the wound is, how powerful the hell realm is, if you convert everything into the power of laughter, there isn't anything that can be transformed at any scale of any planet, galaxy, or universe. And there was a group of powerful laughing Heyokas that came together, and the goal was to make our universal creator laugh once again. And they created these sects and these clans that would go around the universe collecting the most powerful wizards and sorcerers, or whatever you'd want to call it, and convert them to the concept of laughter and no longer dogmas or political concepts in any way, shape, or form. And while you were there were several very powerful laughing Heyoka shamans that were in ceremony around you in the etheric form, so that the energy that you were creating through the heart bond between you and your partner actually opened up the land even deeper at a really deep level, because the earth is looking for those people that can reach that pureness of joy and ecstasy where it shoots out the tips of their fingers and toes and it heals her.
Oh my God. And it was, I'm telling you, I felt such gratitude when that was done. Of course, my stomach hurt, my mouth hurt, but I'm telling you, it was the most amazing. The wound chakra opening was the beginning of everything, and everything just spiraled after that. I mean, I can't even remember half the things that we've done, but I know now that I understand scales. That was one thing in my last reading I didn't understand. I kept asking, what's the difference between multidimensional and universal? You kept saying scales. I didn't get it at that time. There's a lot I didn't get at that time. I totally got it now.
Real quick, let's talk about that first reading, the stuff that it took you a while to understand. This might help some of the other people that have had other perceptions for themselves.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
When you finished the reading, how long did it take for you to just go through it many times? Did you go through it a bunch of times?
I went through it. I read it over a span. I listened to you when we did it. I listened to it immediately within hours after it, and then I listened to it a couple of days later. And then everything just kind of fell together very quickly. You know, people say, well, I don't know, I wouldn't pay that kind of money. I'm going to tell you, it is the best money I've ever spent in my entire life was having you for an hour, and Janet Sanders as well. I learned, I don't know where I came from because I didn't think to ask that, but I do know that I am a universal source oracle, and I do know, and I've stepped into that power. I know anything is possible. I thought in the beginning I was working from client to client. I did like you. I charged. People paid. If they didn't have the money, I didn't charge. But I'll tell you, that's not my place. I tried doing it with groups of people. It worked well. That's not my place. My place is to work on a universal, global level.
Now you understood how delicate of a reading you were at that moment of space-time you came to see me.
Right. I wasn't. I had no concept.
Exactly. How else could I have told you?
I think you told me well. I think you told me well. And I don't let people mess with my energy, and I don't have a lot of trust. But now I'm in a place that I have stepped up in scales so high that it's hard to be out in public and have normal conversations because, to me, it's subsequential. It doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I mean, none of that means anything.
You've made it to the new time. This is where you need to start having the shrewd understanding that you are going to need more and more people around you so you can begin to teach them new skills.
And that's exactly what I'm honing on. And I'm honing on things that I couldn't even comprehend before meeting you.
Let's not even call them students or disciples. Let's call them adepts who intend to become grand masters, and they just need a tutor in the intermediary to remind them of how big of a scale they need to work at. And by leading through example and continuing to open the grid lines and doing what you do, you'll gather a bigger group and a bigger group until a point where that group can split into 2, 3, or 4, and then you will multidimensionally function in this world at a greater scale when you can help the agenda of multiple groups simultaneously do rituals throughout the world.
Wow, it's amazing. I have so much gratitude. I have gratitude to you, your team, because if it wasn't for you, Janet and I have had this conversation on many get-togethers and many phone calls. If it wasn't for you, we didn't know. She heard you speak of a wound chakra. I did not, but it meant nothing to her. Yep. I didn't know whether there was one in my back door. right in my backyard. I had no idea. I had no idea what a wound chakra was, what the capacity of any of it meant, and now absolutely. Absolutely. I'm totally on board. Anything that you ever need, I'm always here. I do have a question. I do have a question. I have a hard time now because people have a tendency to keep pulling me on the scale that I used to be, and it's more ego-based, and I have no interest of going back to work on ego base because they're still, it's a good thing they're still in that place. They still need work, but that's not my work. I'll have to refer them to you or somebody else. How do I handle that?
How do you handle that? This is boundaries, 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 boundaries. Okay? You have to think of yourself in a different format, like the Sifus in China, the masters that would teach the people the adepts of martial arts. That there has to be a layer between the master and and those are the layperson students. There has to be a team around you. You're at the point that you need a team, and the challenge of the ego base here is, can you be in it long enough to find a team that can function in non-ego?
And that's,
and understand that team is going to be continuously changing as you promote more and more to form their own franchises and groups, because they've passed the test of knowing how great of a scale they need to work with, and that by working together as a group of franchises, you can do greater work than ever conceived of before.
Oh, this is something else. I want to bring it up to you. I was directed, Janet and I were thinking about bringing 4 or 5 people out to the wound chakra to help assist in the work, and I was told no. I was told that her and I together, our frequency, anybody else that came would lower the frequency. What does that mean? Why would that happen?
Because that's not the one that they're supposed to go to. There are other womb chakras that are open around you also. There's more than one. It's about,
I didn't know that.
It's about understanding that underneath the earth, think of a 100-mile-kilometer circle from the center of where the womb chakra is. So it goes out deep into the Gulf and it goes out deep into the Atlantic. Okay, it goes all the way through Havana. Points, there can be, in that area, there can be 200 womb chakra, micro womb chakra portals that are going to be putting out what's called egg energy. So anything that is in the egg-laying reptile, whatever, is going to get a very positive benefit from the earth to have a incarnation process and not a reincarnation process, and it'll allow newer types of souls to come through. And if there are people that are doing grid work on the area, you can divert one of those micro womb chakra holes to a whole other place, let's say like to Washington, D.C., with an intent to block a sacred geometry chakra that's in Philadelphia by using the same womb chakra energy to do what? Disrupt another place. It's all about understanding the dominoes that is sacred geometry when all of a sudden it is overwhelmed by the womb energy, which is giving birth energy. That means the entire area starts to have massive birth rates. The birth rates goes up. The spirit rate goes up. The amount of power the system of domination and control has is greatly reduced because energy harvesters and feeders cannot operate in the womb chakra frequency energy. They literally have to go back to their little places of power and wait for the storm of energy to go away.
You know, they we went out there so many times during the 15 days.
Hey, darling, I got to end it. We've got to move on to the next caller.
Okay. I love you, Andrew.
I love you, too. Thank you very much. You're really
Thank
fun.
you, babe.
And I'm so glad that things have worked out.
Thank you. I love you. Bye.
All right, darling. Take it easy. Love you, too.
Okay.
That was an interesting reading.
Oh, yeah.
Shows the power. Shows the power. The money flowed. Everything flowed.
Oh, I know. And the energy around her was fantastic.
Yes. At some point, we'll talk more about the type of being she is, but.
So, Andrew, you say high density and high dimensional, but we need a little clarification on what do you mean. What does it mean that the Earth is a 12th dimensional being? Please explain the concept of density and a reality of density of a being. So density determines how much potent life force the DNA instrument can handle. So you can be a very potent DNA instrument, but not be able to perceive the 4th or 5th dimension. Dimensions are forms of perceptions that you can bilocate, trilocate, quadlocate, or simultaneously exist on based off of your ability and awareness. Density represents the potency of the being that can do things with dimensional awareness. Now, Earth is a 12th dimensional being, but it's a 15th density entity. It has lowered its frequency. Its original purpose was to be a 7th density galactic seed planet, meaning it had taken its 15th density concept and had manifested massive energies that could resolve karma of tens of trillions of external beings in a universe or a galaxy through karmic resolution. It took its higher density purpose, made a physical infrastructure to attract beings and go through a resolution process. That is what a 15th density with a 12th dimensional being and a 7th density seed system. Each individual being here has a potency level that they can come in with that this instrument can handle. When we do body work, mind work, and spirit work, we increase our density, ability to operate simultaneously in many different places with full awareness. So that is the main difference between density and dimension. Also, density determines what is a signature frequency match for you. If you are a light worker with all the good spiritual hygiene behind you and you're constantly attracting the negative gutter trash, there is something within you that is a signature frequency match that attracts them that needs to be healed. And there's thousands of other examples that can be like that. Let's say you're the gutter trash and all of a sudden you're attracting all these healers. Well, all these healers are trying to tell you, Mr. Ego Gutter Trash, that you got to get yourself out of the trash and be into the human beingness again and take it on to the next level. That's signature frequency match, though density does that. We go through also what's called separation of densities, where you make that I am choice to say, I'm no longer allowing the gutter trash to affect my life. I'm rejecting that completely. I've taken my density and used it as an I am will action that creates a border, boundary, rules, and policy that says, no, my actions are sovereign. And if you choose to roll over my sovereign actions, my potent I am self will give a form of awareness punch that may not be violent, but it is in my level of responsibility to tell you, no, you cannot violate the density of this being.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.